Hey guys, before I get started with the video, I just want to thank you guys so much for your support. Your feedback means so much to me. You guys mean so much to me. So continue to like this video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel, and we're going to keep this thing going. But I want to talk about the Batman movie. So this time I'm going to talk about the Easter egg review for the Batman movie. And as most of you guys already know, I saw the movie 2 weeks ago before the actual premiere that Friday. So I went that Monday and I got the free Batman The Long Halloween comic book, which is only for people who actually had access to go to see the movie before the preview date. So it was actually pretty cool. So the movie is by far one of the best Batman movies of all time, in my personal opinion. And Robert Pattinson did a really great job of portraying Bruce Wayne too. And he's pretty much up there close to his performance levels with the likes of Michael Keaton and Christian Bale at the same time. So he's definitely really good. So for those who haven't seen it, definitely check it out. And I know, for warnings, this is actually going to be a spoiler review. So I know some of you guys are going to see it, and some of you guys will probably have a chance to see it later, if not at all. I know one of my good friends, Wes, shout out to him, to my brother Wes. He said he wasn't going to see the Batman movie. So regardless of the fact, this is going to be a spoiler review. So this is an Easter egg review. So, if you guys still want to check it out, just, check it out while it's still available in theaters. More than likely, it's going to go on HBO Max eventually anyway. So, but without further ado, I got Eric Voss right here from New Rockstars. So what we're going to do is talk about the Easter eggs that were actually in the movie, some of the clues that we actually saw in the movie that were pretty much hidden. So we're going to do all of that. But it was, like I said, it's definitely one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time, because it definitely has that noir detective feel to it, as you would know of all the Batman movies as well. So, and I definitely got Batman the Animated Series vibes from it too. So it was a little bit of a combination between Batman the Animated Series and the Justice League and everything like that, especially with the background and everything. So the background music was great, as you all know. So it was pretty cool. So, but without further ado, Eric's next to me. So without further ado, let's get into this.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Batman, Matt Reeves' detective noir take on the Caped Crusader, also known as the world's greatest detective, in this case played by Robert Pattinson. Not always the world's greatest detective in the story, but hey, it's only his second year into it,
Yeah,
and the
which
movie
is year
is
two.
all the better for it. This is one of my favorite cinematic depictions of Gotham and its broken toys. There's so much to appreciate about this film. The clues Reeves hid throughout this film to set up the mystery, subtle details in the camera work and the music, and Easter eggs pointing to the broader DC universe. My favorite kind of movie to break down, and I'm gonna do it scene by scene. Spoilers ahead. Here we go. And big thanks to Boxu for sponsoring this video. More on their tasty offerings later. Oh, by the way, I am wearing our custom design of Gotham Noir shirt, available for a limited time.
I have to get that too. This is actually one of my custom-made Batman shirts too.
So the film opens with the abrupt title text of The Batman filling the screen. Actually, the way the 2019 Joker opening title text filled that screen. But here, it's kind of like one of...
There's been some comparisons too, as far as like the intro from the Batman to the Joker as well. So it was definitely good comparisons to that too, so.
Versus red-tinted snapshots taken from his eye lenses, filling all of his vision. This film constantly shows extreme close-ups of eyes and fingers, objects so close we can't really distinguish them, as well as the point of view shots from those peepers, a reflection of this film's shifting points of view that keep us guessing who the real villains of the story are. The opening shot is actually one of these POVs from under the mask of the Riddler, his breath sucking through his military cold weather mask as he peers through binoculars, a recurring voyeurism as we later see Batman doing the same thing to Selena Kyle. This opening shot is reminiscent of John Carpenter's opening point of view shots in the movie Halloween, a silent boy killer heard only by his heavy breathing from behind his mask. The Riddler's gaze passes a cop guard sitting at the gate. Didn't you see, Seinfeld? You never give them a chair to sit in. There's lots of holes in the security. Then he lands on a boy dressed as a ninja.
The Seinfeld reference too.
Killing his father before heading out to trick or treat. We've been primed by so many Batman films to expect the first kid we see to be a young Bruce Wayne, especially since Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins exploring Bruce's backstory as a ninja. But this flips the script on us, revealing it to be the son of the corrupt mayor, Don Mitchell Jr. Yet still, this is a grieving boy that Batman will later feel a connection with. The music over all this is Schubert's Ave Maria, sung by a boy falsetto, a recurring track setting up the Riddler's history as a choir boy orphan, framed in a press photo with It actually plays later at the mayor's funeral, and then again back to the orphanage. And who's closely throughout this film, the composer Michael Giacchino uses a minor key rendition of Ave Maria as the Riddler's theme music. Now, opening on
That's pretty fitting too. Ave Maria and the Riddler's background music.
Batman detective storyline from the comics, a story that ties heavily into the Falcones and the Maronis. Other comic influences were Batman Year One, Luke's Ego, both arcs you definitely want to read. But really, I gotta say, Matt Reeves clearly made this movie its own thing, and you could just point to anything in this movie and say it was from any comic book ever. But this movie is better appreciated for its cinematic details, not as just a list of comic book Easter eggs. So that's the approach I'm gonna go in this breakdown. Because speaking of Carpenter's Halloween, there is a great Michael Myers-esque reveal of the Riddler directly behind the mayor, only revealed when the TV light flickers brighter. Like Batman, the Riddler first appears to us from the shadows, but never steps out of those shadows until he is ready to kill, not giving his prey an opportunity to see him and make a different choice. Now, this Riddler look with the glasses over the mask is inspired directly from the descriptions of the Zodiac Killer, who also taunted police and the media with mysterious ciphers written in his own
I see.
He clubs the mayor with a tucker, a tool used in carpeting, proving the Riddler planned from the beginning for Batman to find this tool and use it later to uncover his home floorboards to reveal his long game to bomb the city's seawalls.
And that's pretty interesting too, because if you look at it from a detective point of view, the Riddler was leaving clues behind for Batman to actually figure out the crime. And he's always been that way, especially from the comics and the animated series. He will always leave clues for Batman to find them, so that way it's pretty much more of a game that he always wants to play with Batman. So sometimes he would either let Batman catch him, so that way he could turn himself in. So the Riddler is pretty intelligent, but also psychotic at the same time, in the sense that every time he plays that particular psychological warfare with Batman, by leaving the riddles and the crime scenes behind, he's pretty much always leaving those types of clues. So the Riddler's always playing those games, which is the reason why I think this is actually one of the best detective movies of all time, because of the fact that he leaves those clues behind, and the fact that you can actually see Batman's work as being the world's greatest detective being in display at this moment right here, where he pretty much plays the Riddler's games. And with the Riddler leaving those crime scenes behind, you can pretty much see that too. So it's pretty awesome. So.
And then we jump to Halloween night from Bruce's perspective. We actually start on these weird two glowing shapes that look like eye holes from inside his Batman cowl. But these extreme close-ups are actually part of the bat signal igniting, steaming in the rain. And you'll notice this bat signal is not the clean stencil that we have seen before, but a chunk of metal jammed into the shutters of a standard searchlight, just showing how Batman and Gordon are really in the early days of their partnership. Also reflected on the location of this bat signal in this unfinished construction site.
Right.
Then we see Gotham's Times Square.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, because with the bat signal, it wasn't really completed as we've seen in previous Batman movies, because it's a good comparison too. What Eric was saying is the fact that if you look at the relationship between Jim Gordon and Batman, they weren't really close friends as you've seen in the movies and the animated series. So their relationship was still developing as they're trying to team up with each other. So the bat signal is actually a great accuracy of just the comparison between their relationship, because it's not completed just yet, and nor is Gordon or Batman's friendship either. So it's an awesome comparison. So
with the Gotham Empire building, a Holiday in Gotham, a Bank of Gotham, the Gotham Tribune, and then this screen PSA warning addiction to drops on the rise. Drops being the name of the new eye drop drug of this world. The guy who robs the store is actually wearing a green drop mask. He's a literal drop head. And this store is called Good Times Grocery, which is an Easter egg to the Robert Pattinson crime movie Good Time, which Matt Reeves said that he watched while writing the script for this movie that made him want to cast Robert Pattinson. And you'll notice it's
a good cast too. And I think that as far as like his other movies goes, the reason why he was chosen for the Batman, because you've seen Good Time. Basically, Robert Pattinson basically is kind of like a noir version of that too. I've actually watched the movie Good Time, but I've heard of it and I heard it was actually pretty good. As a matter of fact, let me check this out real quick. Good Times. Yeah, this actually came out in 2017, and yeah, basically, its setting is almost similar to the Batman. And Matt Reeves was even saying it's one of the reasons why he wanted to cast Robert to play Bruce Wayne. As a matter of fact, it received critical acclaim for Pattinson's performance for the direction, story, and soundtrack. So the original soundtrack was by electronic musician Onitrix Point Never. So, and of course he plays Nick Nickus. So I have to actually watch the movie and see, but some of the elements from Good Time is kind of almost similar to the Batman. So, but yeah.
The detail lives directly from movie 7, in which David Fincher made sure it was raining in every exterior shot in the city to show the impressive nature of urban life. Bruce describes how the Gothamites ignore the rain. All of this rain setting up the city's eventual flooding in a third act. The more water, the more the criminals are able to overtake the city. Batman stalks this group of thugs wearing white face paint, though you'll notice their initiate, played by Jay Lasurgo, who actually plays Tim Drake on Titans.
Yeah,
he only has half of
Jim Lasurgo, who's actually played Tim Drake. He played one of the clowns in the Class 2, so it was actually pretty cool. So, yeah, I knew he was in Titans. So.
We saw 2 fake-outs where criminals looked into the shadows of an alley, terrified that Batman would step out of them. Finally, he does, here on a train platform. Giacchino's score evokes John Williams' Imperial March for Darth Vader.
Yep. It's actually kind of similar to Darth Vader's music if you think about it, especially with John Turturro's entrance, because he's pretty much been compared to John Williams, who does the Star Wars music too, so... Yeah, it sounds like Chopin's funeral march.
Darth Vader's first arrival through the smoke in A New Hope. By the way, the cinematographer on this movie was Greg Fraser, who also DP'd Rogue One, which had its own iconic Darth Vader shots. And he introduces himself. The hell are you supposed to be? Yes.
Best entrance right there.
Also, Vengeance is part of his famous 3-line phrase from the Batman episode of Batman the Animated Series. Vengeance, I am the knight, I am Batman. Batman tases the last guy on the...
And it's so similar to Batman the Animated Series too, like so much similar.
Showing that Batman's armor itself must be electro-proof, setting up how he survives getting shocked by that generator in the flooded arena in the final act. Batman joins Lieutenant Jim Gordon at the mayor's crime scene, showing off some impressive detective skills, deducing the thumb was severed when the mayor was still alive, and noticing a bloody mark on the floor from where the murder weapon bounced over there. That even the photographer was like, oh, what's he looking at? Oh, damn, I should snap a shot of this. Now, in a way, he does live up to his title of the world's greatest detective, but I would argue in this film, he's actually not yet that much of a detective. He makes some crucial errors, but it makes for a much better story, especially for someone at the beginning of his career in vigilantism. On the walls are newspapers celebrating the mayor's Maroni drug bust, referring to the gang of Sal Maroni, rivals to the Falcones, the whole thing we later learn in the movie, a total sham. Newspapers also include a subtler headline about the city's seawall construction problems, teasing the Riddler's final plan to target those seawalls. And then this clue.
From your secret friend, who haven't a clue. Let's play a game. Just me and you.
This card with the skeleton saying, from your secret friend, was modeled directly on the real-life card sent by the Zodiac to San Francisco Chronicle reporter Paul Avery that had a skeleton saying, from your secret pal. The riddle is, what does a liar do when he's dead? Answer, he lies still. Is decodable using the same double-letter technique cited by Robert Graceman in the Zodiac films.
The most common double consonant in the English language. The double L. And what's the one word that we know that he'll use in here at least once?
Kill.
You'll notice how later, Alfred will try using the same technique to mark off all the double O's before Bruce realizes that eliminating the 6 letters that they were given spells out the Riddler's favorite Ryan Gosling movie. From the crime scene, the music shifts to Nirvana's Something in the Way, with Kurt Cobain's lyrics reflecting this grunge take on Batman from Robert Pattinson, a guy who wishes he was homeless and feels more comfortable on the streets at night. But also, as the final track on Nirvana's Nevermind album, it actually precedes a secret track that comes after 10 minutes of silence called Endless Nameless. So this recurring track in the movie is really the something in the way of Bruce's true mindset, as he is a detective masking a secretly violent monster underneath that layer. Cobain's lyrics also reference the animals I trapped, referring to the past criminals that Batman has caught in these first 2 years, and how the Riddler literally traps animals in cages for Batman to find. You'll notice right as Bruce arrives in his Batcave, the old Wayne Tower subway station, Wayne Terminus, we hear Cobain singing, underneath the bridge. Tarp has sprung a leak. Another indication that the flood is coming. A flood that probably will actually flood this whole Batcave. Bruce's moody voiceover has actually been his journal entry in a notebook labeled Gotham Project, framing this Batman as a young physician experimenting with different cures for the city. A doctor like his father. A contrast to the Riddler, who approaches the ills of the city as a forensic accountant, looking for and diagnosing redundancies, where the numbers don't add up, but not prescribing true cures to those discrepancies. His first entry in this film is the night of Thursday, October 31st, and in the epilogue after
Halloween.
the flood, it's the morning of Wednesday, November 6th, meaning the whole movie transpires in about 6 to 7 days, but it is the dawn of the 7th day. In Genesis, it took God 7 days to create the universe, but since we are right on the border between that 6th and 7th day, the 6th day is when God created man. We haven't fully gone through that 7th day yet, a way of showing how in this movie, we have not yet fully acquired that 7th day of rest. There's still work to be done. When Bruce joins Alfred for breakfast, I love this.
I love the biblical comparisons too, as far as like day 6 was when God created humans. So I love the comparison too. So, you know, God created Adam, who was the first human, and then made Eve a few days after that too, after we put Adam to sleep. So Adam and Eve were the 2 first human beings on planet Earth and everything. So, but I love the comparison between, you know, how there's religion and then comparison to the Batman films too. So it's pretty interesting too. So
Quince at the morning sunlight and has to put on sunglasses as he is a self-described nocturnal animal who's getting too accustomed to seeing nighttime prey through his special lenses. Kind of like Morpheus' line in The Matrix. His eyes hurt because he's never really used them properly before. Here on the ground floor, there's actually a bust of William Shakespeare, which could be a possible nod to the 60s Adam West Batman when the Batcave was accessed by a button hidden in Shakespeare's bust. Then in the mayor's garage, Batman knows which car to check from the
1960s reference too.
There by the Riddler, the shears probably used
1960s Batman.
Thumb, which is why Batman then looks for a USB thumb drive port. Thumb drive. And they say this movie doesn't have jokes. Batman fights his way into the Iceberg Lounge and breaks the nose of the moonlighting cop named Bill Kenzie, who's actually a narco from the Gotham Central comics. And Batman meets Oz Cobblepot, the Penguin. There's a great visual exchange here, where he sees Selena Kyle boots first, and then as Selena exchanges cash for drops with Oz, Selena quickly recognizes Annika from the photos, which Batman notices, and then later, after talking to Oz, he sees the same boots on Annika in the photo, so knows for sure that the two must be involved somehow. But then, my favorite detail in this movie comes right after this. As they exit the lounge, we're outside, and the upper corner of the frame, there's a lit window showing a silhouette, snapping photos of the lounge entrance. This is the Riddler. That is how he got all of these embarrassing photos. This is only 30 minutes into the film, folks, but this isn't revealed and confirmed until 2 hours later that Nashton's home is across the street from the lounge. And you'll notice this is in a hotel lit in a green neon sign. This is under our noses from the beginning of the film. I love it. Then after sparring with Selena, Batman finds her overdue electric bills that list Selena's address as Queen Street in Gotham, US. There's no state listed because throughout the comics and the films, Gotham's exact location in the United States tends to shift around. The news reports Commissioner
like I've also read too that Gotham City takes place like in an alternate version of New York City. That's what I've read too, but it's not really an actual pinpoint of where Gotham is located in the US. So, but from what I've seen and read throughout the different theories and the books is that Gotham City is supposed to be located in the alternate version of New York City. So it kind of reminds me when Spider-Man teamed up with Batman and how Batman at first came to New York to capture the Joker when he was teaming up with Carnage and Endangered Minds. And then when Spider-Man teamed up with Batman again, Spidey actually went to Gotham and then they teamed up against the Kingpin and Ra's al Ghul. So, and I'll do a comic book review on that too, because it's actually one of my favorite Marvel DC comics or crossovers with Batman and Spider-Man teaming up twice. So it was actually pretty cool. And in fact, we have to respect the villains too. Like in the first one, it was the Joker and Carnage, and then the second one was the Kingpin and Ra's al Ghul. So I'll do a comic book review in the future in my next videos and dealing with the crossovers. So
murder, his head in a cage fed to snarling rats. A detail from George Orwell's 1984 when Winston is tortured in room 101 with his head in a
great movie, by the way.
Then when examining his body,
1984.
Batman and Gordon look at the Riddler's rat maze with the new cipher in a linear path.
We actually watched that in my high school class, 1984, because it was part of our government assignment. We actually sat in our class and actually watched 1984. So very educational. So
The tray is carries a second riddle, this time a purple envelope with a card showing a mad scientist pouring chemicals. I'm mad about you. Want to know my name? Just look inside and see. And then inside an explosion with, but wait, I cannot tell you, that might spoil the chemistry. Of course, teasing the Riddler, rigging up a bomb for the DA. And at the bottom he writes, follow the maze till you find the rat. Bring him into the light. You'll find where I'm at. Batman then teams up with Selena so that she wears his recording lenses to scan VIPs in the club. Here she meets DA Gil Coulson, and as she talks with them, her red wig contrasts with the blue light on his face, which gets colors to get mirrored at the end of the night when the Riddler straps the neck bomb to him in the car, which Reeves and Fraser keep way out of focus, just flashing blue and red lights, evoking a police squad car. Ironic for him being the arm of the law, but now facing justice for his own corruption. I also really like the detail of Coulson having to wipe the steam off the windshield, since Riddler had been sitting in this parked car all night, steaming it up. And as the camera pulls back from this attack, it's all framed with the Gotham seawall in the foreground, the waves right up to the top. Super high tide from all this rain, marking this street corner as one of the targets of the Riddler's later detonations. Alfred has translated the maze cipher to, you are El Rata Alada, saying that the Spanish isn't perfect, since, as Oz later points out, Rata Alada is a Spanish feminine noun and adjective, meaning it should have the pronoun Allah, not El. A clue, of course, setting up the wordplay of URL. Also, perhaps a nod to the spelling and grammatical mistakes throughout the Zodiac's letters and ciphers, which some code breakers believe may have actually been intentional. Probably not. Most of these criminals think they're smarter than they are. Alfred gives Bruce Thomas's Wayne family cufflinks a W with a curved line through it, which visually matches the designs that the Riddler used for many of his symbols. Hard lines with curved S shapes or question mark shapes snaking through them. At the mayor's funeral, Bruce gets met with paparazzi. Now later in the Riddler's home, there's a newspaper clipping wall of a past Bruce Wayne tabloid photo with a smiling face behind him that matches the smile of Barry Keoghan, who plays the Joker in an Arkham prison cell in one of the final scenes. Now, I didn't see Barry Keoghan in this mob, but I just love the idea that he might have stalked Bruce as one of these photographers in the past, similar to how John Doe in Seven cameoed in plain sight earlier in the film as a paparazzo. Inside, a young man tries to sneak past the barrier before getting caught, and Bruce chats with another angry father, glad that the mayor's dead. Both of these men are wearing dull green jackets. I think they were both among Riddler's followers who later attacked the rally. Actually, that angry dad is definitely the same guy who later gets unmasked on the catwalk and says he's vengeance. Now you can see there's a lot to talk about when breaking down this amazing film. So to fuel me through this process,
it's crazy though, as far as like just pretty much what you will see in all these clues. Like what also got me was as far as like the breaking down of the clues as well with the code is pretty interesting though. So but yeah, it's just one of the best movies so far for sure. So yeah, and the fact that the Joker's in it too, we'll definitely get another sequel for the Batman movie, and we'll see the Joker again. So especially in that cell when Joker and Riddler were sharing cells in Arkham, that was a pretty epic scene too. So it was pretty cool. So more than likely, I've been told that we'll probably get like Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker or the other Joker too. So we'll definitely see. Let's see.
It tells you everything that's in the box, what part of Japan it came from. So this is a Sakura mochi from.
I love Sakura emojis. They're the best.
So if you want to have your own Sakura celebration and support new rock stars here, click the link in the description and use the code ROCKSTARS to get $15 off your order. When this funeral gets interrupted.
Oh, I'll eat that for my cheat meal. Yeah, and this is when the bombing scene takes place too, so. Yeah.
For all this, we stay inside the church. We only hear the faint engine revs, the screams, the dull pops of the gunshots, all growing louder and louder until the SUV crashes in. You'll notice the Riddler painted the letters DOA on the car, a joke for the DA being DOA, dead on arrival. And using a
is it like DOA, dead on arrival, or DOA, District of Attorney, so.
In this way, maybe inspired by the horrible incident involving Ryan Wells in 2003, very complex plot that involved death, blackmail, and recommended documentary saw on Netflix about that, but I hate that documentary because it showed the death with zero trigger warning. Netflix, can you please just put a little trigger warning before that part happens? Or take it out? Anyway, Bruce returns as Batman to claim his third riddle, now in a yellow and blue.
Might
In
need
these
to,
trying
though.
times, never forget, I'm just a phone call away. And then he wrote ring, 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 ring dozens of times. You'll notice the text gets more and more crammed in toward the bottom of the card. The Riddler's live stream includes comments egging the Riddler on, including one that says, hope it's a dud and we gotta do it all again Tuesday. Clue for how the Riddler actually plans to blow up the seawall on Tuesday, election day. Others diss Batman, screw the poser in black, I need more Riddler. And what if that's body armor? Think it'll save him from the blast? Indeed, it totally does. The Riddler asks,
it can be cruel, poetic, or blind, but when it's denied, it's in silence you may find justice. The answer's justice.
the second riddle.
You are justice. Please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
He's referring to the cost of Coulson's bribes, which apparently is $10,000 a month, not to prosecute certain cases, which brings us to the third riddle.
Bribes.
Since your justice is so select, please tell us which vermin you're paid to protect. But because Coulson will not give up the rat, Batman clashes with the GCPD, but Gordon helps him escape with a dramatic leap off the tower and wingsuit glide. But the part of
That was my favorite part with the wingsuit glide. That was so cool.
neon green hotel sign. So this is right where the Riddler lives. He probably saw all of this go down. Now, suspecting the Penguin is the winged rat, they follow into a drug deal at the recycling plant, leading to this shootout and chase. This movie's Batmobile fires up. It's a true muscle car with an exposed engine, flames bursting out the side of the undercarriage like Batman himself. He's ready to explode. This street chase is some of the best action filmmaking I have seen. Reeves and Fraser mount the cameras on the sides of the cars to make us feel like we are looking through the side view mirror or we're in the back seat looking out. Meanwhile, the music that Giacchino uses here interrupts his main Batman theme with rapid percussive breaks.
It's like a fast version for that too. I mean, the composer for the Batman music is just incredible. Like, everything was pretty much like spot on. Like, me being a musician myself, I love the Batman theme, so it was definitely really cool. So
that we only hear the charging theme when the Batmobile gains on the Penguin.
Yeah.
Also, the thump in the barrels, which syncs perfectly with the percussion. They pass under some highway signs with DC references. The Gotham docks are great docks used by organized crime in the games. Robinson Park is a poor neighborhood in Gotham City where Selina Kyle lived during the No Man's Land storyline. Tri-Corner Yards refers to the Tri-Corner as a triangle-shaped island on the south side of Gotham where the GCPD is located in No Man's Land. And then Hinkley River.
yeah, definitely. I got the book too, Batman No Man's Land. So that's interesting too, that they actually have all the street signs. There were references towards the comics and the series too. So
South Hinkley, a downtown borough in the Gotham Knight anthology film, and a location in Dark Knight.
Oh, and the Batman anthology.
And the chase reaches its
And then
climax.
nice. As Batman approaches Oz, we see him framed upside down in the fire, upside down like a bat hanging from above. And I love this. After they interrogate the Penguin, he waddles after them with his ankles bound, moving just like a penguin does. The Riddler lures them back into the orphanage that Thomas Wayne donated to the city, but since his renewal fund was emptied, it fell to ruin. A projector shows Thomas's mayoral campaign announcement beside a group of choir boys, one of whom was Edward Nashton. And I like how when Bruce realizes he is the next target, the Riddler's previous two riddles come back to haunt him. The woman picking up the phone and the old man blowing up. Alfred opening up the explosive package and Dory answering the phone to tell him he was too late. As Bruce tries to figure all of this out, laying out the evidence on the floor, an overhead shot positions him at the center of all this evidence as his dual roles as both the Wayne heir and Batman make him really the center of the Riddler's plot, more center than even the Riddler realizes. Selena reveals Falcone is her father, as has been the case in the comics, and Bruce sees the Riddler's latest video in the
detailing
comics,
the
yep.
histories of the
Yeah, because in the Year 2 comics, Falcone's actually Selena's father. So, yeah, like I said, this is actually one of the best interpretations of the Batman comics, too. So,
Wayne and the Arkham families, how reporter Edward Elliott uncovered the secret of Martha's parents' murder-suicide, leading to her being in and out of Arkham for years.
Edward Elliott, the father of Thomas Elliott, who becomes Hush. I mean, we might see Hush in the future Year 2 movies, too. So, could be a possibility, but I caught that, too, when I first heard of his name, and I was telling my buddy Dan about it. I was like, Elliott? Thomas Elliott's father? Hush? So you never know. It could be pretty interesting how they're gonna actually tie that up. So
She was actually the heiress of the Arkham family. Riddler wrote over this the word hush, referring to Thomas's hush payments on this story, but also a clear nod to the Batman Hush storyline. Another great
Called it.
story that also features Batman and Catwoman romantically involved, while the Riddler orchestrates this plot from behind bars. That reporter's name being Edward Elliot could be a nod to the great-grandfather of Thomas Elliot, aka Hush, in that storyline.
totally called it. And I knew that when I heard the name Elliot in the theaters too. Like, wait a second, that's Thomas Elliot's grandfather? So yeah, he becomes Hush, the villain in the series and the animated movie called Batman Hush. So yeah, it was Bruce Wayne's childhood friend named Thomas Elliot, who was one of Bruce's childhood friends, and then as he pretty much was good friends with the Wayne family. And then there was there was like a scene where he actually survived an explosion planted in Wayne Manor, and Thomas and Bruce were separated at that time. But eventually, Thomas becomes Hush and tries to take out Batman. So I mean, Batman has like a list of plethora of road galleries. So
Thomas's cease and desist comes from the law firm of Miller and Moore.
Miller
An
and
Easter
Moore.
egg to the comic writers Frank Miller and Alan
Yep,
Moore.
Alan Moore,
who wrote
yep.
What I think are the best Batman graphic novels, The Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke, respectively. Falcone
Yep.
tells Bruce that Sal Maroni had his parents killed,
That's
keeping
cool.
Thomas from being a forever loyal asset to Falcone. But Alfred clarifies that Thomas was actually planning to sell out Falcone to the police on the night that they were murdered. He could just never verify if it was actually Falcone's doom. And I love that this movie keeps it in the mystery. Selena's able to get the truth out of Kenzie that Falcone killed Annika, and that Falcone was the true winged rat, being protected by city leaders and ruling over the corruption of all of Gotham, as everyone was really draining Thomas's billion-dollar renewal fund. The way this mystery unfolds in the movie parallels the movie Chinatown, which explores how the city of Los Angeles was built on corrupt dealings around the city's water infrastructure, including the twist of the top boss having a secret daughter. Batman charges in to stop
Chinatown,
Selena from
good
killing
comparison.
Falcone with an amazing hallway shot from Reeves and Fraser, lit only by the flashing of the machine guns. Just like Fraser's hallway shot in Rogue One, lit only by the lightsaber and the blasters. Falcone gets arrested and he taunts Gordon saying, "What are you, with Zorro here?" Classically, it was outside a screening of a Zorro film where Bruce's parents were killed in the comics, which is one of his inspirations to don a black mask.
So basically, the origin of the Batman story has pretty much been like changed like about a couple of times. Because like in the comics, Bruce and his parents went to go see The Mask of Zorro, which is what inspired Bruce partially to don the black costume to become Batman. But in the animated series, they saw the Great Ghost, and the Great Ghost was also played by Adam West. But they saw the Great Ghost movie, and that was when Bruce's parents was murdered at Crime Alley. So either way, Batman was inspired by at least two figures of Zorro and the Great Ghost. And the Zorro is actually one of my favorite heroes too. So yeah, Don Diego de la Vega. So he's definitely awesome.
But the Riddler shoots Falcone dead. Batman notices this is under a flickering street lamp, bringing the rat into the light. Also marking the spot as one of those blinking Christmas lights in the Riddler's floor mat right next to where a seawall bomb was planted. The Riddler surrenders calmly in a diner with imagery actually matching Edward Hopper's painting Nighthawks. But his surrender at the end of the film's second act, plus the police's discovery of his horror show apartment, is also directly from Fincher's Seven. Both criminals having thousands of pages of handwritten ramblings, and John Doe surrendering to police as part of his master plan. Such is the case for the Riddler, who calmly traces a question mark in his drink. The Riddler has two IDs, one for Edward Nashton, the other for Patrick Parker. Both are known aliases of Edward Nygma in the comics. The police are able to ID Nashton as a forensic accountant, thus how he knew which city leaders were profiting from the renewal fund, and whether Coulson was telling the truth about his $10,000 bribes, and why here all of his journals are written on ledgers. You'll notice a close-up of one of the pages shows entries from July reading, "I know what I must become," a line that he repeats then over and over and over below, like a student repeating a lesson as a punishment on a chalkboard. What he must become is a masked vigilante, something he learned from Batman, whom he viewed as a silent partner, someone he thought would be impressed with his work. Batman finds one more letter in a red envelope in a bat cage, a card with a proverbial monkey dancing for an organ grinder. This proves that the Riddler, at least at first, did not know Bruce Wayne and Batman were the same person. If his plan was to kill Bruce with the bomb that Alfred opened, and then for Batman to find the "See You in Hell" note followed by this card, Riddler must have thought he could kill Bruce Wayne and then celebrate afterwards with Batman, a separate person. But the way the Riddler whispers his name here,
Bruce Wayne.
scene for a beat that the Riddler is saying it to Batman a ton. But then the scene backpedals when the Riddler comes back to it saying, Bruce Wayne, he's the only one we didn't get. Which I think is a great twist, showing how the Riddler saw him and Batman working together to bring down the elites like Bruce Wayne. And he was just repeating the name out of his own personal lingering envy for the orphan who got the spotlight instead of him. But
Right. And I love it too, the fact that he was playing mind games with Bruce, pretty much thinking that Batman and Bruce Wayne were one the same, but now it's just thinking like, well, that's one person we didn't actually get. So it's kind of interesting how you pretty much playing those same mind games, because it reminds me of Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange is a psychologist, and he was trying to pinpoint Batman's real identity too. So it's interesting how some of the villains would try to at least get inside Batman's mind to see, well, who is Batman? Is it Bruce Wayne? So it's interesting.
Another way to read this, that perhaps after setting his plan into motion, putting those stamps on all the letters and sending them out, when Bruce Wayne ended up not dying in the explosion, the Riddler might have been able to conclude that that was because he led him that night to the orphanage, accidentally keeping his target away from harm, so that maybe now he might know that they're the same person. He's just not yet revealing that he knows, continuing to tease Batman. I don't know, I can make an argument either way, and the fact that Paul Dano walks the line so carefully so that we're not really sure how much
Paul
the Riddler
Dano's
knows
awesome.
is what makes him so great. When Batman returns to the Riddler's apartment, on his social media account, he finds comments from others, including one who says, "Don't forget the cling wrap." Paul Dano actually revealed in an interview that originally he committed to wrapping his whole body in cling wrap so that the Riddler wouldn't leave any DNA at the crime scene. So
Paul Dino's cool.
He's capable of doing that because when you wrap your body in cling wrap, your skin cannot perspire. So the plan comes to fruition and the vans explode. The seawall caves, flooding the city, enacting an Old Testament disaster, a plague upon the city, wiping it clean. And this herds everyone into the high ground at Bella Real's campaign rally in the arena where the Riddler's followers plan to open fire.
Like I said, it's like so many biblical references. Moses parting the Red Sea, the plague came and flooded everyone, so...
When he injects himself with adrenaline, he goes full Ralphie Parker.
You fucking open damn nipples! Bang, 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 Chris! Did you hear what he said?
But floodwater pours in, and a loose electrical cable dangles over the water, so Batman comes over and, using the detachable chest emblem blade that we saw him use before, he cuts the cable, knowing that his shock-absorbent armor will protect him. I mean, I love this reveal, as it confirms my theory from over 2 years ago when I demonstrated how that chest piece could actually be made into a blade by fully making one out of cardboard and then stabbing Philip with it. And then he leads the survivors to safety. He is transformed from a shadow to be feared to a beacon of hope. And for the first time in this movie, as he looks into the daylight, he does not squint. Meanwhile, his voiceover describes how the flooded city is now at risk for a new criminal takeover as we see the Penguin gaze out at its new empire. A flooded city, perfect for a penguin, a flightless bird, but an excellent swimmer. Back in Arkham, Barry Keoghan cameos as the unscreened Arkham prisoner in a cell beside Riddler's, saying, "One day you're up, the next you're a clown," laughing maniacally while teasing a wide grin, a bit of a disfigured face. Yes, the Joker, which was further confirmed by this movie's post-credit clue, directing us back to RataAlada.com, where a new cipher revealed the symbol for the letter Z, leaving the only letter left in the Riddler's alphabet still a mystery, the letter J. Well, Mr. J, his new best friend. Actually, since then, a new cipher dropped on the site, translating to, "You think I'm finished, but perhaps you don't know the full truth. Every ending is a new beginning. Something is coming." Still, in all those letters, no J. Matt Reeves actually confirmed in an interview that there is a deleted scene in which Batman, after seeing the Riddler's clues pointing to him in particular, did actually meet with the Joker face-to-face in Arkham to consult with him. I guess kind of like Clarice Starling consulting with Hannibal Lecter, and he indicated it might show up on the Blu-ray release. In the final scene, Selena says she is planning on moving to Bloodhaven, a neighboring city in the comics known as the base of operations of Nightwing, but Batman does not follow her, and she says, "Who am I kidding? You're already spoken for." Now yes, this is something Alfred says in the Year Zero comics, but as Selena says it, her eyes dart to the left, her eye line is connecting with the bat signal in the sky. That was the first image we saw associated with Batman in the very opening minutes of the movie. While this movie at times flirted with being a bat and the cat story, I think its strongest partnership was really between Batman and Gordon. It is a detective story. However, they were not, in this movie, the world's greatest detectives. Honestly, they screwed up constantly. Their Spanish was bad. The only way they caught the Riddler was because he surrendered to them. The city's seawall still imploded. The city's left flooded. You could argue that they completely failed their Riddler investigation. Really, the victory belongs to the Riddler here. The most most corrupt leaders of Gotham are now out of the picture. But that makes Batman's victory in this movie a personal one. He started the movie blind, now he can see. By losing the battle in this movie, it sets him up to win the longer war. And it shows us that work always needs to be done. While this may be the dawn of the seventh day, it is not the time for rest. I obviously love this movie, and I love it more and more each time I watch it and more I talk about it. Hopefully diving into the details helps you appreciate it more too. Hey, a reminder that you can get this limited edition Gotham Noir shirt at newrockstarsmerch.com.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, I love this movie. The Batman movie is a great interpretation. Like I said, it's definitely one of the best Batman movies I've seen in quite some time. And I love going back and watching all the other Batman movies too, because all the actors brought in their versions of the Batman, because Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson. Now these are like the 6 Batman I just named. 6 actors I just named that actually portrayed Batman really well. Oh, not to mention Kevin Conroy too. Kevin Conroy, the animated version Batman, yeah, definitely the best. So 7 Batman, yeah, 7 Batman for sure. But yeah, he's definitely all the actors bring in Batman to the extension. So they bring their own versions to Batman. So it's actually pretty awesome. And like I said, seeing Robert Pattinson's other movies can pretty much indicate, yeah, he can pretty much play Batman if you look at some of his, his later work, besides Twilight. But if you look at some of the stuff that he did after Twilight, you can pretty much understand that, hey, he actually suits Bruce Wayne really well, especially for the year 2 version of Bruce Wayne. So, but yeah, I love the movie. It's definitely worth watching. I go back and watch it again for sure. So the scene's great, the music's incredible, and I just love how the fact that they pretty much always always try to at least do comparisons to like different other biblical references and everything like that. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the fact that there was like a comparison between Superman and Batman, and how it was Superman represents the light, Batman represents the dark, so it's kind of similar to like God versus the devil kind of thing. So it's pretty interesting, so to say the least. And this is coming from a Christian myself, so I love dealing with aspects like that too. So it's pretty awesome. But yeah, best movie of all time. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. For those of you guys who have seen it, I know you guys enjoyed it too, though. So, but yeah, the cast did a really great job. Paul Dino is actually one of my favorite actors to play the Riddler too. So the interview that he did for Good Morning America was actually really awesome as well. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any questions, comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And again, thank you guys so much for your feedback and your support. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys so much, and I'll definitely see you guys in the next one. Until then, be love, share love, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.